Hello. I'm Steve. I'm Andy's oldest brother. And what we're going to do now is take a few minutes to let his family and his friends say a few words and really remember him. And there's going to be some tough moments, and just get through them. Andy was truly an original person. He had his own drum that he was marching to. He was quirky and funny, and just some of his humor was, it would take you a minute because it was so smart and so sarcastic, and it would take something that you knew 20 years ago, you'd have to remember something from a really long time ago to get what he's making a joke about right now. Just so whip smart. This today is one of the last things I ever wanted to do. He wasn't just my brother. He was a friend and somebody to talk to. And I always felt like when I didn't reach out to him, he was reaching out to me. There was an unspoken. And I talked to one of his favorite people in the world this morning who could not be here. Our grandfather on my dad's side. He's 94 years old. And he just wished he could be here, but he just could not make that flight. And I'm wearing his ring, and I told him, "You're here." I'm going to miss him so bad. That's it for me.
I just have a short story to tell about Andrew. It was a cold January night, and I was on my way to meet Andrew for our third date. On my way to his place, I remember I asked God for a sign from him telling him that he was really, truly the great guy that he had shown me in the first 2 dates. As I pulled up to his driveway, I noticed his car was outside and he was in it. He came out of his car and helped me out of mine, and when I asked him what he was doing outside, he said, "I was warming it up for you. It was too cold. I didn't want it to be cold." And I knew at that moment, I knew that he wasn't just another ordinary guy, and I knew that he had come to my life for a reason. And although I only met him this year, in such a short period of time, he brought me so much joy and happiness to my life. I will miss forever his smile, his laugh, his generosity, his hugs. He gave great hugs. And his back scratches. He always found the perfect place to scratch. And even though I say goodbye to him today, I know this will be forever. One day we will meet again. I love you always. He always called me fruit. So, love you always, your fruit.
I had to make notes also. I spent what seems like an inordinate amount of time with Andrew. And I have too many stories to write down or to say. So I'm going to tell you all some things about Andrew so that I and you can celebrate his life. Some of Andrew's favorite things.
Purple. Reason for my tie, and one of his favorite things in the world. If he could get it in purple, his car, his towels, his shoes. I mean, he'd look like a blueberry if he could. Unbelievable. I shared this like a purple with him. I find now that I wish I should have told him more, but it was something that I wanted him to have over me that he liked so much. And he loved music. He loved soft, quiet, melodic music, loud, hard music. He loved Enya, Orbital, Deep Forest. He loved music in general. He loved anything he could use to listen to music. Headphones, car stereos, anything he could use to listen to his music he loved. A lot of you will know this one. He and I worked on fitness a lot together. This one was the bane of my existence. Red velvet cupcakes with cream cheese icing. He loved movies. He loved lots of movies. And he loved stand-up comedy. Eddie Izzard. Lots of, like Steve said, lots of very, very smart, long ago comments from movies that, are you sure we saw that together? I'm sure we saw that together. It was horrible remembering all the movies we saw together. We saw so many. Superman, the old ones with Christopher Reeve, they were his favorite, bar none. He loved to have a glass of wine or a Crown and Coke, and he loved to do that with Sochil. He loved to work out and to get fit. That was part of my job to work on. And then Sochil would take the reins from there, and he loved the other half of it. He loved to go with her and buy clothes to fit his new fit frame. He loved gadgets. He loved to shop for them. He loved to look at them. He loved technology. He was in the computer business for so long. Notebooks, phones, anything that was technology, he loved to do it. One of the things he loved most was being good to people, loving people. Being patient with people. Giving thoughtful gifts. He would think a lot about the person and the gift that he was going to give them. And he and I made, many years ago, we made two very simple rules for each other and for everyone. We strive to do this in our gift giving. And I remember we talked about this plenty of times. The gift has to be something they would not buy for themselves, but it was something they would use and they would love and not set it aside. So if it was a pair of socks, it had to be a $30 pair of socks or something crazy. He bought me a salt grinder one year. I'll remember that forever. And last but not least, he loved games. Role-playing games, card games, board games, shooters, on the computer, on the console. He loved Diablo, Call of Duty, Gemstone, text-based games, games on his phone, play games all the time. He really enjoyed games. One of the other pallbearers, one of my friends and Andrew's friends, told me not to measure the success of his life by the length of his life. I miss him more than I can imagine, but I know that his life was filled with joy and experience and love and family and friends. And with that said, there's only one thing left for me to say, and that is King Sword Haste, my friend. King Sword Haste.
John. I'm the third of four. Andy was our youngest brother, youngest of all of us, the baby of the family. As you can see from the photos and the video, you know Andy. To know him was to know love. He was a big, tender-hearted, and fun-loving guy. We will miss everything about him. There's a huge hole in our family now. We appreciate all the prayers and care that we receive from family and friends, and we thank you all for being here today. I have some comments from some friends that wanted to say some things, and then I'll share a couple stories. Ken and Rhonda have known Andy for many, many years, 15, 20 years. They were teenagers together. And here's some words from Ken. He just says that Andy was my friend. To be Andy's friend meant that he would never leave you. He used to stay over at my house for days at a time, only to return home to get clothes and check in on his mom. He stayed at my house so much that my dad threatened to charge him rent. I remember one time in particular where I was sick for 2 days. My dad was away, and Andy managed to nurse me back to health on my couch with soup and Pop-Tarts. In hindsight, it was probably the soup that healed me up, not the Pop-Tarts, but they didn't hurt. Later on in life, as my friends drifted apart, Andy didn't. He moved in down the street. He was getting on in his life, but always found the time to help his friends when needed. He was always there to cheer me up with his wit, or to be the shoulder I needed to lean on for a time. Through all the highs and lows, Andy never left me. He didn't leave me now. Rhonda wanted to say, the man gave the absolute best bear hugs ever. We didn't tell each other we loved each other all the time, but one hug from him and you knew how he felt. I will miss those hugs the most. We will also miss his unique sense of humor, which has been mentioned by others. He loved to put you on the spot. I remember this especially when we would be out at dinner or shopping. He would talk to a salesperson or waitstaff and drop a line on them that was hysterical to us, but left them speechless. He left people speechless a lot. We played a lot of games together. We loved all sorts of games. However, he loved playing them a lot more than reading the rules. And we gave him such a hard time about this. In fact, it's legend now, if you mess up the rules, you have invoked the Andy clause because you didn't read the card. He might have gotten that from our grandmother, Grandma Dee Dee. She liked to make her own rules too. Watching him, that will always make me smile. He also loves Zoe like we all love our dogs. She was his baby. Watching him watch her was so sweet. You give your love unconditionally to your dog, and those memories with her are probably the most honest and unguarded I ever witnessed with him. There will be countless encounters in the future that Ken and I will sometimes want to pick up the phone and call him and send him a text just to share a story, something we know that he would find funny or interesting. We can't do that anymore, and it breaks my heart. The place in our heart he occupies will never be filled, nor do we want it to be. He is our brother and our friend, and we are blessed to have known him. Another friend, Shannon, wanted just to share that he seemed to be the baby of the family that everyone loved. He made the point to spend an individual time with each of you and loved telling those stories. The world lost a warm, kind, loving soul this week. Knowing him allowed me to grow, mature, and love again. After my mom had cancer, he helped me from a dark place, and I will always be thankful for him in my life. I just want to share two personal stories because I want to celebrate Andy's life. We're all hurting, but Andy, we've mentioned a couple times his hugs. But one particular hug that I remember was at my bachelor party. And those of you that were there remember it. He didn't. He denies it, but we have witnesses. He gave me the biggest hug. He came up behind me and just hugged me so hard and lifted me up. And we went down to the ground. I'm still hurting from that. That's my wife. That's right before my wedding, mind you. The other story is from our childhood, where Andy was the youngest. He was the baby. He could do no wrong. One day, he and I were home alone, and I was in the house, and I heard the front door, and I looked out the windows. You can see the door, the two windows, and I could see we had bushes out the front door. And I look out there, and I look again, and there's flames coming up from the grass and the bushes. And he's out there with it. This is Texas, mind you, where it's hot and dry and the grass is just on fire. I go out there with the fire, the water hose, the garden hose, and I just spray it down. As my mother drives up to see this all going on in the front yard, I don't remember what happened in the next 10 or 15 minutes. All I remember is I'm thinking, this kid's in trouble. He's going to get it. But what do you know? My mother feels so bad for him. She takes him in because he was so fearful what was going to happen to him. Somehow he got a fish tank out of the deal. Big old fish tank with beautiful fish in it. He also, as Chris mentioned, was very thoughtful of gifts, and he was always trying to find some way to bless my mom. And he always found a special blessing for her. So I will challenge all of us to lift her up in that way, and to, as days go forward, to fill that hole the best we can. The other thing is, and I'm sure Gary will touch on this more, our pastor, but we are going to call on the Lord to help us do this. This is the only thing that matters to us right now. And just pray for us, pray for our family, and thank you for being here.